So in talking about these industries, cement, mining, um, there's a lot of common problems. Some are big, some are small, some are maintenance related, some are design and capital expenditure kind of related. I guess I could maybe mention a few from each category. Maybe Matt, you can get some other ones, but I would say a big problem on a small scale is not having accurate and reliable differential pressure readings. And related to that is the clean on demand versus timer setting. A lot of times that's a result of not having reliable readings. The differential pressure readings are super important because they're the only way to know what's happening in the baghouse. So any discussion about maintenance, optimization, any of that stuff, even emissions as well, what's going out the exhaust stack, for pollution control. All of that, the first question is what is the differential pressure? And then the second one is what is the differential pressure when we do this? So if you don't have reliable readings that you can trust, it's always a suspect. So you never actually know what's happening. It makes diagnosing problems very difficult. A lot of times it's because we don't spend enough time cleaning out the lines and making sure the gauges don't get fouled, and also having the right kinds of gauges that are rugged, and just maintaining them. So changing them when they get fouled. They get fouled very easily. In fact, we often recommend these little auto blowout devices that we install on a lot of our systems that keep the lines clean automatically, because then you always know what the reading is. The other thing is the reading is on a gauge up 300 ladders, 1,000 feet in the air. Nobody's going to go read that. So it does nothing, even if it is working. For an extra $100 on the cost of the gauge, you can have it send the signal down to the control room and record it on the computer. So why would we not do that? It makes perfect sense to upgrade to a slightly nicer gauge that sends the readings one place, and then the person that used to go and take those readings now can do inspections and preventative maintenance and all this other stuff. So that's a big one. Um, I would say with regard to design and things like that, the number one thing is always the baghouse is undersized because in the quest to get the lowest possible price, there's always going to be some vendor among the 3 or 5 that you get quotes from who will always tell you that their system can do more with less, and that's why it's cheaper. Um, or sometimes it does happen too. The plants know enough about the system, so they specify they want something that's smaller, more aggressively sized to save costs. For all the different reasons, people might want to have something be lower cost. Once it's in, it's not that it works or doesn't work, it's that it works poorly, works acceptably. Whereas if you sized it the right way, it would work really well. So a really well designed baghouse, even in cement and mining, is one that you close the door after putting the filters in, you clamp it down, and you don't open it again until 1, 2 years later when you change the filters. And that's the only time you open it because it has no problems otherwise. When it's too small, you're in there all the time. You're getting holes in the filters every month or two. You're not getting in. You're getting like 80% of the suction you need, right, at the pickup point. So it's getting most of the dust, but there's still dust on the floor. It's still dusty in the plant, and that's what a lot of sources. So I'd say that's probably the biggest big picture thing is systems are too small, undersized for the application, or they were the wrong type of model. Like someone bought a cartridge collector and they should have had a baghouse. Those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'll add to that because we've been in so many facilities and all of these things happen. There's all of these symptoms are present, but the thing that seems like most facilities nowadays have trouble with is just the fundamental maintenance because for you have to train your maintenance and your operations staff on all the fundamental baghouse inspection maintenance procedures, right? And so when you have a lot of churn, it's hard to keep people, you lose that every few quarters, when you have a new batch of maintenance staff. And so those new people may not know the fundamental, what to look for. Like Dominic said, the DP gauge, nobody knows to look at it. So it just goes, it uh, goes and gets worse and worse, and then all of a sudden there's issues in the facility and people are wondering why. So I'll use this opportunity to kind of plug our services. We do a lot of on-site inspection maintenance services. I would recommend you do that once in a while, if not on a quarterly basis, just to make sure that those things are being addressed. And then over time, these type of facilities have a way of changing over time. Processes get moved around, pickup points get added, often for good reason, right? Because, you have a new machine over here, you need to reroute this ductwork over there. And we'll go in these facilities where the dust collection system may have been perfectly designed to start with, but things have changed. Ducts have been added, pickup points have been added or moved or closed off. And then you have balancing issues in the ductwork. You've added pickup points and sort of watered down the airflow at each of the pickup points where you need it. And people are then kind of left scratching their head as to why, it's so dusty in the facility. So the other recommendation I would make is if you're planning to change to your facility, if you're going to add a machine or remove a machine or make any kind of change to the ductwork, the layout, and so forth, you should look at the dust collection system, have someone who's familiar with the system look at it very closely to make sure that you're going to have the enough filter square footage, enough fan capacity, and that the ductwork system is designed properly so that you don't have issues as a result of that. So those are just two common things we see. All of the issues that Ian mentioned, Andy, airflow distribution, abrasion, all that stuff plays into it. But if you can make sure your maintenance staff is trained to kind of recognize the symptoms, or you get, an outside expert like us in there every once in a while to take a look at things, you can address them before they become systemic, chronic issues in your facility.
Nice.
Yeah, I would just add it's always the small things, it's the basics.
Mhm.
People always think we're going to come and find some like crazy complicated thing that requires a team of engineers to solve and millions of dollars. The vast majority of what we find when we do inspections and that's in our reports, it's lots of these little things that we mentioned
Yeah.
that can be resolved with better training or just attention and resources dedicated to it from the maintenance operations team.
Yeah. Most of the reports are like basic stuff, door seals, pulse valves, fix the leaks here, things like
Change the
that.
filters.
Yep.